Not retiring or not retiring completely. I'm Kevin Tharp, elder law and estate planning attorney.
And I'm Gary Anderson, financial advisor, Anderson Advisors.
Gary, we're talking about financial planning stories. And in the previous segment, you talked about that many people want to postpone their retirement to as far as they can. Now, for Social Security reasons, I know it's 70 or 70 and a half. That's the mandatory when you have to retire. But just because Social Security tells you have to retire at 70 doesn't mean you actually have to fully, completely retire.
Well, that's right, Kevin. What you have to do is you have to start taking Social Security. They're not telling you to stop work, although at times they would love for you to, because that makes a different job for a younger person coming along. But it's age 70, they make you start taking that Social Security whether you want to or not. You're going to be taxed on it naturally if you're still working especially. So this is something that we see more and more these days with people is they have no desire to stop working, or at least stop working completely. They love what they do. They want to continue working for as long as they live if they can. Again, going back to the previous segment, we never know what's going to happen. And this concept about not retiring at all really is pretty much the same as having to retire early. We don't know what's going to happen to us. And so even though you plan on not retiring or ever retiring, you might be retiring before that anyway. But if your idea is to continue work, we see this with a lot of people who own their own businesses, just because that's their life. They've loved it over the years. That's their life. That's their hobby. That's what they like to do. Sure, they take vacations. They like to go with their family to places. They're able to do it because they have their own business. But this has allowed them, too, to think, well, if I can take a vacation here and there, if I can spend a couple of weeks away from the office or away from the shop, whatever I'm doing, then, why do I want to stop this? I'm in that situation. I don't ever want to retire. I might have to at some point. I always tell people my office is at the end of the hallway of the building there, so when that time does come, you can just roll me out the back.
You don't have far to go out the back door,
you don't even have to disturb people going to the front. Now I'm at the very back. So my office is there, and I want to be able to go there and stay there. Now, do I want to do it all the time? Maybe not. But even now, over the years, I'm my own business person. I'm my own boss. I can do these things as long as I have the people in place to be able to manage stuff as I'm not there. But even then, because of technology now, I don't have to be there all the time. I don't. It works just as well, except for meeting with people, to be at home or wherever I am doing my work. This is the phenomenon now that we're seeing with a lot of business people and a lot of people in any type of occupation, is that they can do these things from home. The recent COVID, the pandemic, which continues on to some extent, is a good example of what happens, what things that can change just because of some crazy phenomenon that we've had. And it has changed people's mindset. A lot more people now are telling me that I don't want to retire. I can do this from home. Why do I want to stop doing what I'm doing? I'm just as productive. So I had a person come in, a couple who were married about 5 years ago, and they had this idea. They said, okay, we own the business. Both of us work there all day long. I'm amazed that they could actually get along with each other, but they have been doing it for 35 years. And I said, what are your retirement plans? And he said, well, my retirement plan is not to retire.
That's the plan.
And I said, well, that's interesting because, I'm kind of the same way. And he said, I know it could happen. I know that I may have to shut the business down, or I may have to sell it to somebody else at some point. And his wife was the same way. Basically, she said, if either one of us, something happens to either one of us, if one of us dies, most likely our plans could change because it's just one of us there, then it's not the same. We may not have the same desire to work. So we want to be prepared for retirement at some point, but we would like to know that we don't have to retire and can continue what we're doing. Well, then it becomes about what are you going to do with all these assets that you're going to leave if you never retire? So it takes on two different dimensions there. And this is what we have to work through from a financial plan. And you can do this from a retirement plan. You can do it. And it's not very difficult to do. You lay it out to where, okay, if option A, we continue to work, we keep our business going over these next 20 years, 25 years, and then we leave this earth, we die one day, and what's going to happen to it then? Or option B, something can happen and we might have to stop work.
Not having to retire early. That's what we're talking about today on Truth and Planning with my co-host, Gary Anderson. And Gary, I know that's why what you and I have been doing a lot over the years is coordinating the retirement plan and the estate plan for many of our clients that we're seeing realize that, hey, unlike our grandparents who get the gold watch at retirement when they reach 55, we don't have to retire at 70. We can keep doing what we enjoy and what we love doing. I was having a conversation with some friends the other night and my wife, and I said, you know what? I hope that in my 90s, I can still make a periodic visit to my office and do some things, because that means my mind's still active and I'm still vital. And my friend asked, why would you want to do that? And Missy quickly interjected, and she said, because he loves what he's doing. It's not really retirement if I just slow down and do it less, or I do it from home.
Yeah, Kevin, when you hit your 90s and you still want to go to the office, I'll come by and pick you up. I'll put you in the back of the pickup and bring you home.
Thank you. That'll be interesting, a 99-year-old and a 90-year-old driving around town.
You got that right. You're good at math.
That's right.
But Kevin, this is, as far as retiring early and not retiring goes, like I said before, they can be synonymous. Because if you never plan on retiring, if you plan on retiring when or stopping work when you're 90 because you just, you can't go anymore, it's really not much different than having to retire early when you're 58 years old or 60 years old. Because if you're plan on working until you're 90 and you're 85 and all of a sudden decide you can't have to, you're retiring early. You're retiring early. So we have to plan for that. But it does take on a different dimension when you plan on continuing to work. You and your spouse both continue to work. One thing I always ask, and these people that came in that day, I asked them, I said, okay, you're not going to stop working. Well, what are you going to do? And they said, well, we're going to keep working. And I said, well, but then what are you going to do while you're working? Well, the same thing we've always done. We've built these particular products over the years, and we'll have people doing that, and we'll continue on. We'll sell things. And I said, well, but then there are other things to do as well. What do you do now? Well, we like to take vacations every now and then. We like to take long vacations, 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Tie in an industry conference to go on that vacation.
And so we have these opportunities to visit and see people. We like doing that. And I said, well, that's what you're going to do in retirement as well, or what as you continue to work as well while you're not retired. We want to make sure you do that. We want to make sure that you're laying the funds aside to be able to do whatever you want to do financially to be able to achieve that goal. So in that case, not retiring does take on some of the aspects of retiring. I know sometimes it sounds a little complicated because basically the bottom line is you want to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And that will allow you to continue your career and not get burned out. And I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist, not a counselor in that way. But we do have to pay attention to these things when it comes to a financial plan, a financial retirement plan. Then you're going to leave somebody behind. You're going to leave family. There's a good chance you're going to leave family. Well, the longer you've worked, the more money you've made, that's going to accumulate to be more. We need to make sure, number one, that the financial plan addresses where it's going to go from that point forward. And we also want to make sure that you have an estate plan that fits with that. And that's your job, is to make sure that there's an estate plan that works with this overall plan of not retiring or not retiring early. And so this is what we like to do for people, and we give people the opportunity to come in and see us. 888-371-2847 is our office number. You can look us up on our website, gary-anderson.com. Come in, we'll have a conversation. We don't charge for it. It's something that I enjoy doing with people. Sometimes it's very revealing just when you can get together with your spouse and talk about these things in front of somebody else.
And Gary, you also have in-person appointments as well as on the telephone as well.
Exactly. We do both.